So, the skeletal system anatomy. The skeletal system is an adult body is made up of 206 individual bones. These bones are arranged into two major divisions, the axial skeleton and the appendicular skeleton. The axial skeleton runs along the body's midline axis and is made up of 80 bones in the following regions: the skull, the hyoid, the auditory ossicles, the ribs, sternum, and vertebral column. While the appendicular skeleton is made up of 126 bones in the following regions: upper limbs, lower limbs, pelvic girdle, and pectoral shoulder girdle. So, what is skull? The skull is composed of 22 bones that are fused together, of course, except for mandible. These 21 fused bones are separate in children to allow the skull and brain to grow, but fused to give added strength and protection as an adult. The mandible remains as movable jawbone and forms the only movable joint in the skull with the temporal bone. So with that, we can talk and we can eat or we can chew. The bones of the superior portion of the skull are known as the cranium and protect the brain from damage. The bones of the inferior and anterior portion of the skull are known as facial bones that support the eyes, the nose, the mouth. Next, the hyoid bone. Hyoid bone is a small U-shaped bone found just inferior to the mandible. Here, the hyoid is the only bone in the body that does not form a joint with any other bone. It is a floating bone. The hyoid's function is to help hold the trachea open and to form a bony connection for the tongue muscles. The malleus, incus, and stapes, known collectively as the auditory ossicles, are the smallest bone in the body, which found in a small cavity inside of the temporal bone. They serve to transmit and amplify sound from the eardrum to the inner ear. So, for the short fact, that's why we can hear because of them. They are serve as like the hammer, diba, inside of the ear, may nakita air drum. Isit na air drum na tugs, tugs, tugs. Tapos, ito liwat na malleus, makakumbagat serve hiya dito ng ear, tapos makakadura koan. Basta, it will be tackled, I think, about from my other classmates since they are also focused that thing, but I am focused on bones. Next is vertebrae. So there are 26 vertebrae from the vertebral column of the human body. They are named by region. So 7 cervical vertebrae from neck here, and thoracic, which is 12 vertebrae in the chest dito, and lumbar 5 vertebrae, sacrum 1 vertebrae, and coccyx tailbone 1 vertebrae added na dito. So, with the exemption of the singular sacrum and coccyx, each vertebra is named for the first letter of its region and its position along the superior axis. For example, the most superior thoracic vertebra is called T1. T1 means thoracic one, the first one. And the most inferior is called T12. Dito. The last thoracic vertebrae. Next, ribs and sternum. So, the sternum or breastbone is a thin, knife-shaped bone located along the midline of the anterior side of the thoracic region of the skeleton. Here. The sternum consists to the ribs by thin bands of cartilage called the costal cartilage. So there are 12 pairs of the ribs that together with the sternum form the rib cage of the thoracic region. The first 7 ribs are known as the true ribs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 2 ribs because they are connect the thoracic vertebrae directly to the sternum through their own band of costal cartilage. While ribs 8, 9, 10 all connect to the sternum through cartilage that is connected to the cartilage of the 7th rib dito. So we consider this to be false rib. So ribs 11 and 12 are also false ribs, but they are considered to be as floating ribs because they do not have any cartilage attachment to the sternum at all. Next is pectoral girdle and upper limb. Dito. The pectoral girdle connects the upper limb bones to the axial skeleton and consists of the leaf of the left and right clavicles and left and right scapula. Dito. The humerus is the bone of the upper arm. It forms the ball and socket joint of the shoulder with the scapula and forms the elbow joint with the lower bones. The radius and ulna are the 2 bones of the forearm. The ulna is on the medial side of the forearm and forms a hinge joint with the humerus at the elbow. The radius allows the forearm hand to turn over the wrist joint. The lower the arm bones from the wrist join with the carpals, a group of 8 small bones that give added flexibility to the wrist. The carpals are connected to 5 metacarpals that form the bones of the hand and connect to each of the fingers. Each finger has 3 bones known as phalanges, except for the thumb which only has 2 phalanges. So, in the fingers, may the tulo na phalanges, the proximal, medial, and distal. Except for the thumb, it only has 2 phalanges. So, iniliwat metacarpals na composed tiyahan mga 8 bones, ang trapezoid, trapezium, hamate, lunate, triquetral, pisiform, scaphoid, and capitate. So those are the small bones located at the metacarpals in the wrist. So formed by the left and right hip bones, the pelvic girdle connects the lower limb leg bones to the axial skeleton. The femur is the largest bone in the body and the only bone of the thigh or femoral region. The femur forms the ball and socket hip joint with the hip bone and forms the knee joint with the tibia and patella here. So, commonly called the kneecap, the patella is the special because it is one of the few bones that are not present at birth. So the patella forms in early childhood to support the knee for walking and crawling. The tibia and the fibula bones are the lower leg bones. The tibia is much larger than the fibula and bears almost all the body's weight. The fibula is mainly a muscle attachment point and is used to help maintain balance. So the tibia and fibula form the ankle joint with the talus, one of the 7 tarsal bones in the foot. So the tarsals are a group of 7 small bones that form the posterior end of the foot and heel. The tarsals form joints with the 5 long metatarsals of the foot. Then, except of the metatarsals forms a joint with one of the set of phalanges in the toes. Each toe has 3 phalanges except for the big toe which only has 2 phalanges. So, just like the fingers and the hand and the feet, except for the thumb or the big toe has only 2 phalanges and the rest has 3 phalanges. And also, just like metacarpals na may daw 8 na bone, may dagiap mga small bones na adiha metacarpals, metatarsals I mean. So, and metatarsals may cuboid, calcaneus, navicular, talus, trochlea, and the cuneiform bones which is the medial intermediate ngan lateral. So those are the uh, parts of the bones, and we're going to tackle about the types of bones. So what are those types of bones? So there are five types: the long, short, irregular, and the sesamoid. Okay. So long bones are longer than they are wide and are the major bones of the limbs. Long bones grow more than the other classes of bone throughout childhood and so are responsible for the bulk of our height as adults. So example of it is the femur, tibia, fibula, yeah, those are the long bone. While short bones are about as long as they are wide and are often cube or round in shape. So the the carpal bones of the wrist and the tarsal bones of the foot are examples of short bones. Flat. Flat bones vary greatly in size and shape but have the common feature of being very thin in one direction. Because they are thin, flat bones do not have medullary cavity like the long bones. So, the example of it are the frontal and the occipital bones of the cranium. So, along with the hips and the ribs. Irregular bones have a shape that does not fit the pattern of the long, short, or flat bones. The vertebrae, sacrum, and cutis of the spine, as well as the sphenoid, ethmoid, and zygomatic bones of the skull are the example of irregular bones. Dito. So, the sesamoid bones are formed after birth inside of tendons that run across the joint. So, like what I said kanina about the patella, actually, it is one of the example. Tikang habat, pagkabata, wari pa ito, as we grow older, no, not we grow older, basta-basta titikad ako na para maka-learn pag-walk ngan ko na nagkakamay na di patilla. And that's all for the skeletal system. I hope you learned something from it. Thank you.
All your bones inside you call the skeletal system, giving you strength and structure so that you won't flop around. And each bone got a function, that 206 of them. 70% of each bone is made from calcium. Sound like that's cool. The cranium protects the brain, the mandible. Jaw to fuki teeth in place, the clavicle. The collarbone, there's two of them. Linked to scapula, sternum, cartilage. Your heart protected, and it's that sternum that bone connects your ribs. Prepare out to so lungs and heart are protected. Humerus bone from your shoulder to elbow. Your forearm is your ulnar and your thumb like radius bone. Vertebrae, skeletal bones. Ligaments and tendons connect muscles. Blood cell production and storing calcium. Vertebrae, skeletal bones. Ligaments and tendons connect muscles. Endocrine controlling your skeletal system. How about your hands, the carpals, all the bones in your wrist. The metacarpals, our wrist and fingers connected. Phalanges, the small bones in your toes and your fingers. And in your foot is also the talus and calcaneus vertebral column. The spine to support standing straight, the cervical. The top 7 vertebrae, bottom, lumbar, and the thoracic in the middle, and your pelvic girdle connects your upper and lower body together. And femur, your upper leg bone, supporting with the strongest, longest, and heaviest of all. To protect your knee, small bone, the patella, the inner thicker tibia, outside is the fibula, and one vertebrae, skeletal bones, ligaments and tendons connect muscles, blood cell production and storing calcium. Vertebrae, skeletal bones, ligaments and tendons connect muscles,